Hello, friends. It's your pajama scholar, Hank McGurk. And I've been working on quite a few different things, and many of them AGR presentations. And with so much going on, it's sometimes difficult to decide which should take precedence over another. But I thought that probably what was most important beyond some of the non-corporeal metaphysical sort of things would be actually to analyze some of the things that are going on in our world as they are going on right now, because our access to information is limited at best, because you can see that censorship is a way of life around the world as we go through a transition period. And there are a lot of different moving components, and some of them are a result of culture, and some of them are an act of God. And today what we're going to do is I'm going to analyze this. Really could be a long series of presentations. So what I'm going to cover today, from here to there, would be like the next geopolitical movements in the Asiatic or Asian sphere. And this is going to have to do with China, India, Pakistan, Japan, Russia, Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, Australia, Hong Kong, just everything that's tied up in that. And my main message before we even start is that don't be so Amerocentric. There are a lot of things going on in the world, and there are a lot of different pivot points and a lot of different ways that this thing can go. And America, while we definitely have our problems, we certainly don't have it worst of all. We've actually been dealt a good hand. We've been blessed, comparatively speaking. So appreciate those blessings. We do have political troubles because obviously things that are antithetical to our Western principles are being executed upon us as citizenry, which this is a discussion for another day, another AGR that I've written, but I figure, again, I will cover this first because it is important for you to be able to make decisions. You cannot make wise decisions without good information. And I'll try and break it down as quickly as I can, the components to this. All right, so what we're going to focus on first is China, because China is one of the biggest pieces of this puzzle. Okay, and I'm going to pull up a map so we have a little bit of a visual aid to get started with. And we're going to go over Chinese internal politics. We're going to go over the flooding. We're going to go over the famines. We're going to go over some of the different provinces and counties. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Chinese Politburo, the structure of the Chinese Communist Party, and what is called the Standing Committee, which is an interior piece of the Chinese Communist Party, even more centralized power within already a centralized power structure. And then we're going to examine some of the profiles of one of the exiles, or one of the ones that was ousted. In China, it's very, very rare to have anybody that reaches the rank of Politburo, 25-member council, to be prosecuted for any crime, much less one that sits on the standing committee. So it's very serious business. Now, this particular person that was outed, Sun Shengzai, or Sun Zhengkai, party secretary for Shanqing, that he was a member of the 25-member Politburo. So let's get to this map real quick here. All right. We are clearly looking at China, just so we can refresh ourselves on this. Here, central kind of to the theme of this entire AGR presentation is the Three Gorges Dam. All right, and this is very important because I'll be pulling up other videos in a minute to show you some of the flooding and what they're dealing with, and the cities that are along this area, and the provinces that are around it, and the members of the Politburo and the standing committee that are connected to the provinces in this area. Okay, so we're going to go upriver a little bit and take a look at the geography just as we travel upriver, because what they've had to do in this time of flooding, they're not even really in deep to the monsoon season. Already, they've experienced flooding that is not typical, and many people wonder if the Three Gorges Dam is going to hold. Okay, so we're going upriver a little bit, and you see how it's all kind of mountain provinces. And inside of these little mountain provinces are cities and farmland. So when they blow the dams upriver to prevent the flooding of their cities, so the further it's a mountainous country, and you can see here as we zoom out that here to the west is the mountains, and it kind of works its way down foothills. And when I'm talking about foothills, I'm talking about seriously big foothills. So it's not like you would experience in the in America. This, after all, is the Himalayan mountain chain. So, you know, the tallest peaks in the world. And what happens is the snow and the rain melt, and they come down into China, and it feeds these gigantic rivers. The rivers like the Yellow River or the Yangtze, for example, are so big, so massive, it makes the Mississippi River look like a friggin' stream. These rivers are huge. And from China, this is another critical point that we'll be making, is that these rivers feed nations and countries, rather. Whoops, zooming out here. Clearly, I've not mastered the control of Google Earth in such a fine way. But the things that sit south of China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, okay? And then on this other side here, Korea. And then over here, we've got India. And then up here, we've got Pakistan, Afghanistan. This desert here is all China as well. It's one of China's few natural barriers, is this gigantic desert. Okay. But this area here, as I've mentioned in a previous AGR, is a territorial dispute between Pakistan and China, which apparently have a loose alliance, Afghanistan, India, and the rest of the Asian nations that are concerned that China is weaponizing water in the way that they have the geographic and strategic advantage of being upriver. So they can dam these rivers and strangle out anything that sits to the south of it by denying them access to water. Now, the Three Gorges Dam was opposed by some of the experts, very prominent experts on the river, on these rivers. Very early on, it was many intellectuals in China opposed the building of this dam, because what the Chinese say it's for is to produce hydroelectric power and to prevent flooding. Okay. All this here, when this dam was built, it flooded out all these areas. What used to be cities were flooded underwater, and the people were forced to relocate, as the Chinese do. That's what happens when you live under a communist regime. All right. But you can see where these rivers are coming together, and these rivers are huge. All right. So I'm making my point here with the central focus of being the Three Gorges Dam. Now we're going to zoom out a little bit here and take a look at the names of these provinces that are around. We've got Chongqing, which is going to be important. Guizhou, I'm not perfect at all in my Chinese pronunciation, so you just have to bear with me. Hunan, Hubei, Anhui, and those are the ones that are going to be in Guangdong, a little bit to a lesser extent, not so much related to the water, but more related to Hong Kong and Taiwan. Okay, so basically, also another piece that's going to play a component is Heilongjiang and Jilin, and of course North Korea, Japan, and here is the border with Russia. So this is why this plays an important piece, because one of the Central Committee or the CCP Standing Committee, one of the members here was governor of this province, and that's right here on the border of course, Russia. All right, and let's see, I believe I took a note here. All right, so we're done with the map. We'll bring it back over here. Okay. So Hebei, let's see. Okay, yes, Guizhou, that mountainous central region, bordering the foothills of the Himalayan mountain chain. That's the one to the kind of central west, is 111 miles north of Vietnam. And then see if I took a note on Heilongjiang. Guangdong is only 215 miles from Taiwan. So here's Taiwan. Here, Guangdong, that's 215 miles. Okay. So it's kind of important to know how close that is. I mean, the state of Florida, is... I don't quite recall, but I know it's not that far. I mean, from Florida, to Virginia is only about 1,000 miles. From Central Florida to Virginia is about 1,000 miles. So, you're probably talking not even, or very close to, the length of the state of Florida. So, let's get started and take a look at some of these central figures and the way that it's, the way the geopolitical situation is beginning to manifest between all these little different areas. Not little different, but these different areas. Because some relationships that had existed are quickly changing. Now, in the United States, everybody says, "Oh, we're going through this economic collapse, blah 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 blah." Well, it's the most fucking engineered construction the world has ever known. So, as far as problems go, ours is political. Other people got such serious problems that the ruling parties in those countries, oh fuck. Son of a bitch. Just calm down. See, I had quit drinking, but I like it. Okay? Fucking love it. It's one of those pleasures in life. All right? I'm trying not to be a drunk, but fuck almighty. I tell you, I love beer. A good beer. So, Lord forgive me, I'm not free of vice. All right. So I kind of call this the road to ruin. A cornered tiger, a political party, the Chinese Communist Party, is in grave danger. Okay. And so what we've seen is political purges, and I've gone over this before when I showed you, I believe the episode was called The Mandate of Heaven, maybe, where you could see the Chinese dissidents being rounded up under that bullshit coronavirus nonsense, a way to fucking censor by using global organizations. It's fucking global fascism, global communism, and it's all tied together. All right. So we've already examined those political purges. And so now what we're doing is we're examining the challenges that are emerging from the uppermost or highest, most upper echelon of the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. Now, when we talk about the CCP, we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, and it consists of the most powerful political figures in China. And this consists of people like former presidents, former premiers of China. I've got images here for you, as well as video. Let's see here. And documents, I suspect. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at the Politburo members, and we'll take a look at the Standing Committee. And we'll go over some of the more influential. Well, we'll go over the Standing Committee for sure, for fucking sure. We're going to go over that. All right. Okay, right here we've got the 19th Politburo. This is the present Politburo. There are a total of 25 members. These are the most powerful figures in China. Now, I didn't do profiles on all these guys. I did profiles on the Standing Committee. But you can familiarize yourself with this. Now, Wang Chen, well, we'll get onto that later. Now, this here, oops, is the Standing Committee. This is the party. This is the point in the center. These are the guys inside the inner circle of power. So you've got the 25 members of power, and then you've got these guys on the inside of power. So they're the elite of the elite. And in China, once you reach this status, you're basically untouchable. But as things have gone, and the world is strange and wacky like it is, there has been one member of the Politburo that I mentioned earlier that was removed from power, Sun Zhen Kai, or Sai Zhen Kai. I'll pull up his profile for you as well in a moment. All right, so we'll continue on. Now, once per year, they have like the current sitting Chinese president, which would be Xi Jinping, or Secretary General, or General Secretary. Translation can be a bitch, but it's all virtually the same fucking thing. We're referring to the face of the party, and like the top guy of the committee, as we're in any communist structure, it's built just like a pyramid, right? But one time a year, the premier has got to go in and answer to the inner circle, and this is the only time it's really permitted in Chinese politics to openly criticize the government or government actions. And so these council members wield considerable political influence and are generally immune to prosecution, because bribery is kind of a way of life for the Chinese. Having a Confucian, it's kind of dichotomous in this way, and let me explain a little bit about the culture. It goes way back. The Chinese have a governmental idea that's based on Confucianism. And this is to kind of say that the government officials are supposed to be the most virtuous, and they're supposed to take their duties very seriously. Therefore, the Chinese don't want to criticize their public officials, not because of threat of force, but because they rely on their public officials. It's part of their culture where you expect your public official. It's kind of like the old feudal systems. You know, you would go to your lord, and your lord would go to his to the king, and that's, I mean, kind of a feudal type system, I guess, if you were to equate it in a Western standard. So the peasantry, you know, far be it from them to criticize. Now, fortunately, in the West, we've advanced far past that. Even though it would appear some fuckheads want to bring us back to the Dark Ages, but we'll stick it up their ass. Anyway, now, the people that are in this inner circle, in the Politburo, are going to wield considerable political influence and have access to all the secret intelligence within China. So they're going to get reports from every sector within the Chinese government, and so they're able to keep an eye on each other. And during this meeting of elite CCP officials, it's the one time they can be openly criticized. Now, General Secretary Xi Jinping, the Standing Committee, I just showed you the image a moment ago. Here, I'll just pull this up and we'll try and pronounce it together. Li Qiang, Li Qiang, Li Jianshu, Wang Yang, Wang Hunying, Zhao Leizhai, Han Zhang. I'm probably butchering that, but fuck it. All right. Now, Li Qiang, he was premier of the State Council, PRC, that's the People's Republic of China, economist. He is an economist by education and training, financial, economic, foreign, national security affairs. 1998 to 2004, he was the governor of Henan Province. 2004 to 2007, he was the party secretary of Haning. That was the top political office of the province. And he was born, and I always think it's important to mention where a Chinese person has been born within China, Anhui. Okay? Now, you may recognize this guy from the many threats he makes against Australia. He's kind of a dick. He really is a big, bald motherfucker, I gotta say. He's, within China, they go around threatening everybody and they pretty much kowtow. Westerners hate that shit. And he really is a high-handed fuck. Just my opinion. All right. So let's pull up the map again. And I'm going to show you where he's from and where he governed, because this is important. All right. So, Anhui, here, is his birthplace. This is a province that has been flooded. In order to stop flooding in other areas. Because guess what this is? A big-ass river. A big-ass river that flows where? Well, that would be south of the Three Gorges Dam. Somehow it takes pressure off of the cities to the south. But Anhui has been flooded, and I'll pull images for that later, or in just a moment. Luhuan. I haven't quite figured out or understand fully how the rivers flow. What in which way they go in China as of yet. But I do know that this area has suffered a lot of flooding. Maybe because it's the lowland. Maybe because it sits along this mountain ridge. And it's flooding towards this plain. I'm not certain. I do know that this is an agricultural province. I know that is a poorer area. Okay. Now, that's where he was born. Now, he was governor of Henan here. And he was party secretary of Haoning. Which I may be missing right here, but I'm not going to waste too much time on it. All right, we're going to move on to the next guy. Li Zhanshu or Li Zhanshu. Li Zhanshu. Li Zhanshu. Okay. Let's pull up an image that. This would be this guy. Now, he was born in Hebei province in China. He was governor of Heilongjiang province, which is that one that borders Russia, north of North Korea, separated by 111 miles from the border of North Korea. Party secretary of Guizhou province. It's like these are all their former positions. And he's often reported in Western media with Kim Jong-un, probably because he was governor of that province that is so close to North Korea. And let's see, I've got some video on that. All right. So this would be the first guy. Give me just a moment. Got a lot of windows up, so it might take a second. Now this is Li.
When Li Keqiang visited Yantai, Shandong on June the 1st, he praised the stall economy as China's vitality and the taste of earthly life in an attempt to solve the unemployment problem caused by the trade war and epidemic. The Chinese Communist Party media immediately vigorously promoted the stall economy. For a time, there was an upsurge of stalls all over the country, and all kinds of stalls were on the streets. However, Li Keqiang's taste of life had not been savored. The table is already overturned by high-level officials. On June the 7th, the party media Beijing Daily claimed that the stall economy is not suitable for Beijing. The People's sharp appraisal of the Communist Party mouthpiece People's Daily said, the stall economy is heating up but not a loud fever. CCTV also said in the hot comment, the stall economy can't coax up. An insider of the Chinese Communist Party media revealed that the Central Propaganda Department, headed by Wang Huning, a member of the Politburo Standing Committee of the Jiang Zemin faction, had issued a ban on the stall economy on the grounds that it was detrimental to the image of government. The stall economy was suddenly stopped, showing that the Xili struggle had been put on the table. Shi Tian, a professor at the University of South Carolina Aiken School of Business Administration, believes, obviously, the differences within the CCP are very intensified. On the one hand, fierce internal struggles are happening, and on the other hand, these struggles are often reflected in external policies or in the direction of public opinion. Wu Qiang, an independent political scholar on the mainland, said that Li Keqiang and Xi Jinping have been in conflict with each other over the economy. In the past 8 years, the contradictions have been serious, antagonistic, and fierce. They finally broke out on the street stalls, which also exposed the State Council's isolation. However, the blocked stall economy is still booming in some local cities, and the people even protested against the ban of stall. Some commentators said that the CCP officials only cares about internal power struggles and is seriously separated from reality and the ordinary folk. The propaganda department of Wang Huning cooled down Li Keqiang's stalls, but even made Xi Jinping lose more face. During Xi Jinping's tenure, Wang Huning entered the highest level of the CCP as royal court literati. It is said that she regarded Wang as a close friend, and Wang concocted garbage theories include and even a comprehensive well-off society. The comment believes that.
Now, I'd just like to quickly point out that this is not a piece that's just focused on one of the members of the standing committee, but it's kind of showing it's at least doing a little bit of analysis on how they're all kind of interacting together, and I'll get to each one individually, because Wang Huning. Let's go over this particular point really quickly. Was born in Shanghai, China, and he is believed to be the principal architect behind official political ideologies, and he's the chairman of the Central Guidance Commission on Building Spiritual Civilization. Now, if that isn't fucking Orwellian, I don't know what is. So, he's the kind of guy that is the political propagandist that sets the ideologies for the CCP. And so there are 3 books, I guess, that are attributed to him. It's called, one of them is called 3 Represents, and this is by Jiang Zemin. Another one is called The Scientific Development Concept by Hu Jintao. The Chinese Dream, which was just mentioned there, and Xi Jinping, Thought of Xi Jinping. So you could pull these titles for more reading concerning modern CCP ideology. And one book was written by Yi Wang, who is a scholar of Chinese studies at Griffith University, called "The Hidden Ruler: Wang Huning and the Making of Contemporary China." So, when you're a government that's based on lies and propaganda, as so many are, it's important to understand the mind of the propagandist. And I speculate, but do not know for certain, that he is the chief CCP propagandist, the controls the state media for the most part, and is the ghostwriter of many things, or approves at least many things. They have to kind of run through Wang Huning. So there's your propagandist that sits on the Politburo Standing Committee. All right, so let's continue on with this piece, now that I've tried to add this clarification.
Li Keqiang, as the Prime Minister, is doing practical things comparing with the current high-ranking Communist Party members, but Li seems to have always been thorn in Wang Huning's side, especially since Wang Huning's entering into Politburo Standing Committee. He has gradually become a fierce enemy with Li Keqiang. When the China-United States trade war broke out, Xi Jinping resorted to Mao Zedong style. Li Keqiang couldn't have a say, but the old-fashioned Cultural Revolution slogans and policies put forward by Wang Huning prevailed. As the China-United States trade war continued to escalate last year, Li Keqiang emphasized to prevent a large-scale return to village. However, the Communist Party media controlled by Wang Huning propagating to guide migrant workers on a large scale to return to village and start a business. The intention of Wang Huning's disrupting and usurping is obvious.
All right, clearing up that point. Okay, so we've covered 3 of the Central Party members, or the Standing Committee, if you will, the innermost part of the CCP. Let's grab a little piece of that top ideologue here, who, of course, calls for tight control of the internet. Go fucking figure. A totalitarian government based on bullshit is going to call for censorship. How fucking amazing. Be sexy, yeah. I'm just gonna interject here. Fuck you. You know, fuck you. Fuck you. And everybody that thinks that they can. The internet being a global fucking phenomenon. Go suck my fucking dick. It's just a bunch of bullshit. Like, I've been on the Chinese internet before. Oh man, was that a fucking pain in the ass. But it actually quite hilarious. You know, you look at the KFC and you get all the same American commercial. You get the same bullshit over there as you get over here. It's the same fucking dish of bullshit you get served. All right. So I'll leave a link, or you can pull a fucking link, or if you need information or some shit, you can take another look at this. But all parties manage how the internet is across the world. Well, no. The internet already is reached a point that is antithetical to Western principle, and I'll even prove this later on. Because part of this is educational, part of this is a rant to show you that Western governments are as bad as the fucking communist Chinese. So, don't dare, piss on my boots and tell me it's raining. All that rhetoric and shit about how fucking evil the Chinese are when Western governments do exactly the same fucking thing. And that, oh, it's China's fault. No, it's your fucking fault. Those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it, you fucking cocksuckers. Communists. Fucking pain in the ass, authoritarian, totalitarian dicks. Alright. What else have we got here? But, that gets you familiar with the top ideologue. I might even bring something up and let it play here for a second while I refresh my glass. So we've been through Li Keqiang, Li Zhanshu, Wang Yang, Party Secretary of Zhongqing, Party Secretary of Guangdong, one of 4 vice premiers to serve in Li Keqiang's government from 2013 to 2018. Guess where he was born? Anhui. We've been over Wang Huning, and that is the propagandist that we've been speaking about so much. And now next, when I return, we will move on to Zhao Leji, or Lejai, Secretary of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, the CCP's top anti-corruption body. So he is also a standing CCP Politburo member on the standing committee. So this plays in a little bit more in that coup that went down that I mentioned at the very beginning of this AGR with Sun Sheng Kai, or Shen Zhengai. So let's see, let me find you a nice little piece here. Because I'll show, let's take a look at a little bit of the flooding while I'm refreshing my glass.
Bye-bye. 汽车那里根本我不规约，没办法我规约，我不规约跟许协会干，跟他们可都干，没办法抢啊，就花没办法走啊，弄的恶血的呀，就是老嘞，麻烦。
Just let me mention to you what a pain in the ass it is to, well, never mind. That should speed stuff up a little bit. Sorry about that.
每一次不要乱走啊，不要出去乱走，看到了没有啊？刚刚被地死一个啊，这个急救车在这里也没有用了，死掉了。
车们呐，一排排呀，全都嘎嘎凉了。你看还走呢，我操，牛逼！这牛逼，哎，必行无疑。
I'm sure you're getting my point here. I'll try and provide some links. Things are moving a little slowly right now. But there is one consideration that I'm going to pull up real quick so you can see the level of censorship that I get better news, I get better information out of China than I do in the United States, because I'll show you exactly what the fuck happens. Look at these deleted videos. That was all that Chinese flooding I intended to show you, where I had reviewed all the clips and pulled everything up, you know, so you would see the best of the best. You would know exactly what the fuck's going on. Nah, we can't even know what the fuck's going on in China, in America. Why? I'm not sure. Maybe the fucking Politburo here in the United States, the fucking Ministry of Truth. It'd be such a pain in the ass. But that's just to illustrate a point. Because I had pulled these materials, reviewed these materials, and next thing you know, yes, guess what? They scrubbed the fucking internet. Fucking bastards. Alright. What are we on to now? Half a rant, half a little bit of education, and a loss of my notes. Alright. I think we had already mentioned the Zhao Leji, or Zhao Leji, or Leji, something like that. Let me grab that image there. I got it all, but so much shit. So, here we go. Standing committee. That would be this guy right here. Your fucking CCP's top anti-corruption official, secretary of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. If that isn't the most fucking totalitarian bullshit I've ever heard of, I don't think it's lost in translation. All right. Okay. And then we've got the last member here of the and of course all this is the background, and we're going to lead to somewhere, and well, you just know how our AGR goes. I'm going to run it however the fuck. It's just going to go with the flow like a Chinese river, whether it be the Yellow or the Yangtze, right up against whatever is damned. And fuck you if you don't like it. All right. Han Zheng, Senior Vice Premier of State Council, Standing CCP Politburo member, leader of the Central Group on Hong Kong, very important, and Macau affairs since April of 2018, served as mayor of Shanghai in 2003 to 2012. All right. Now we're going to get into what's been going on that's in China that's having some fucking crazy geopolitical consequences that are basically changing the power points in Asia. I mean, it's a hand dealt by God. Which, you know, I don't hate China. I don't hate China at all. Any more than I hate America. What pisses me off is the CCP, the communist, lying, propagandist dicks. Whether that be a fucking lying, propagandist, fascist, pay a big corporation, suck away your rights, half fucking communist, half fucking fascist fuckhead in America, in Germany, in France, in Italy, in China. I don't give a fuck. They're all the same. It's not the Chinese people. It's not Chinese. It's not the Chinese culture. It's the assholes that lead and lie. I mean, it wouldn't be cliche if we didn't call politicians liars. I mean, everybody knows a politician is a liar. And it's disgusting that, well, see, the Chinese don't have representative government. They have totalitarian government. We here in America are supposed to have representative government. But instead we have representatives that run the fuck off for wherever the fuck they're going to go and do whatever the fuck they're going to do, even though it seems as if the common man, even me, the retarded drunk that sits here among a few books, or even the friggin' garbage man, or the guy that cuts the fucking lawns, all very important work. Hell, they do more than I do in an observable way. You know? I mean, they're out there actually producing something every day. Fresh cut fucking grass, and the trash is gone. What do? I sit around and read. You wouldn't fucking know if I had done anything or not. I forget where I'm kind of going with that. But what I am saying is, representative government is supposed to represent the people, and I don't know what the fuck they're up to that makes them believe that somehow they're not answerable to the people that they represent. I don't know what kind of money or incentive or puppeteering or whatever you would have to take to sell your soul and be a traitor to the Republic. In my mind, they are communists masquerading under whatever protections of law, abusing the spirit of the law, not taking into account the spirit of the law, understanding freedom. Communism sucks. Totalitarianism sucks. So how in the fuck are we going to run policies in the West that are exactly the same as the bullshit they run in China? And then have to hear some bullshit from the State Department or whatever the fuck about how evil China is, when they're guilty of exactly the same fucking thing. If you want the mandate of heaven, you need the moral high ground. It's about time that people, at least in the American administration and other Western administrations, realize what Western principle is, dedicate themselves to it, and enjoy the successes that will bring. You can't out-China the Chinese. And you see that the Chinese miracle, quote unquote, is the same thing as Chinese construction. It's plaster, a thin veneer on a bullshit construction that's ready to crack. Western principle is built on blood, and a whole fucking lot of it. And we've shed enough of it to be warriors dedicated to peace. For as much killing as Americans have been tasked to do to police the world and keep it a relatively peaceful and safe place, trying to take it a long view, keep the sea lanes open, keep people cooperating, keep the caliphate off balance so they don't invade Europe. I mean, the Europeans don't even fucking remember the times that they had the caliphate so far up their ass that they sacked Constantinople. I mean, the Hagia Sophia today sits in Muslim hands. I'm not making this a religious thing either. Although, yeah, pissing down the back of Christendom, that's, well, another segment, of course. We're going to continue on focusing on the Asian sphere because that's what I've prepared for today. All right. Let's take a look at Sun Jing-kai and mention a few other very, very notable things that need to be paid attention to. Okay, here's the man himself. Now, why I look at these things and see them as important, I've highlighted here. This is from 2012. Okay, so when you take a look at people that have been removed from power, from these internal committees, you look at where they had power and relationships before. Before they were, brought up on some trumped up, well, I'm sure that he's guilty of corruption, bribery, a whole host of crimes, without question. But he was brought down for plotting a coup attempt. Quote, see if I can find the quote here in my notes directly. Plotted to overthrow Xi. 2012 to 2017 served as Secretary of Chongqing, Party Secretary of Jilin Province, Minister of Agriculture in China. Removed from office July 17 by CCDI, which is that little commission that we referred to earlier, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. Fucking communism. Okay. Now that's key, but we'll continue on with a few more key parts beyond the flooding. We've got the resignation of 90, no less than 90 nuclear security scientists that resigned from the academies of Institute of Nuclear Energy Safety Technology. This is to say that they were the Chinese nuclear scientists. Now, I'm going to speculate, or this is hearsay, which might be hearsay from a hearsay, whatever. I don't know, can't validate, can't verify for certain that, and I'll give credit to the Giza Death Star community, because, well, they would know better than I. But the rumor is Indian intelligence picked up China smuggling nuclear weapons grade material into Pakistan. Now, we already know that Pakistan has got nuclear weapons, so does India. So why does Pakistan need more nuclear weapons? Now, some of the other information that I have seen has been a collaboration on a biowarfare program between Pakistan and China. It would appear that China has made overtures towards Pakistan. In America, we see Pakistan and India making frequent trips to DC, which should scare the hell out of anybody to see Modi and the Prime Minister of Pakistan both flying to DC, because Lord only knows what in the fuck they want. They probably want weapons. Because what does DC do best? Well, they sell weapons of all sorts to whoever they like or don't like. And I had mentioned in an AGR before about what could have been the clandestine purpose of the war in Afghanistan. And I'm not an apologist for 9/11. I'm just trying to look at it from the 400,000 foot big picture view on how, really, statistically speaking, only maybe 1 out of 10 people have like a truly sociopathic or psychopathic personality. So, for all the intricacies that would be required to pull off such an operation, you cannot assume for a moment that they're all mentally defective. To convince brass to perform such an operation in such a clandestine way is much more than just making money. Military strategists and generals and such, I don't really think that they're prepossessed too much with the thought of money, especially when you can raise an army and kill whoever the fuck you want and take whatever the fuck you want by force. What the fuck do you need money for? Silver or lead, bitch, what's it gonna be? Fuck you. Hey, fuck you coming and going. So, those types, generally, I don't think are focused on what makes the military-industrial complex money. And when you're talking about upper echelons of brass, talking about the greatest military strategists in the Western world and around the world, they're thinking a little bit above whatever the fuck, is a couple of bucks or whatever their pension or retirement is going to be. Men's lives are on the line. Maybe much more than just men's lives. Maybe billions of lives are on the line. So, I hesitate to generate this spirit within myself that would allow me to consider that all of America and all of the people and my countrymen have failed in such a considerable way to be prepossessed only by the money that they fucking print. All right? So it just doesn't make any sense to me. We've got to look deeper. And again, while I'm not an apologist for it, nor am I one of those psychopaths that would approve of such an operation, there may have been bigger things at play that we just didn't know or understand. And when you look at Afghanistan's position next to China, Pakistan, India, that intervention, the Russians, first the British had to do it, and they did. Then the Russians had to do it, and they did. And then we Americans had to do it, and we did. Now, why? They say, oh, it's a place where empires go to die. It's silly to think that each one of these great powers would invest so much in Afghanistan, which would appear not to have any material or strategic significance unless it did. And I maintain that it does. And I maintain that America accomplished the mission that it was set out to do. And I think the greatest crime is, now that it's done, that we cannot have a little honesty to let the generation that sacrificed and the men that sacrificed, that their actions, their sacrifice, their commitment meant more than something that they were told. You know, a soldier is trained just to do his duty, not to think, but to fucking follow orders. But in that, the whole thing breaks down if you do not have faith. Or faith might be a poor choice of words, but to believe in the virtue of the leader or the commander that you serve, and the country that you serve, and the world that you serve, that you put your life on the line for. And that's why I get very upset. Excuse me, I'm going to have to pause for a moment. I'll continue this in a moment. My apologies.